context here, so the target audience, what we're doing here is talking to aspiring speakers, professional speakers, and entrepreneurs who speak to grow their business. So you kind of understand who we're talking to. I think for you, you've got a lot of experience as an entrepreneur who speaks to grow their business. I actually just saw you at the Limitless Arena event in Utah. Awesome stuff right after Ed Milet, real good stuff. But we'll dive into it. My first question I have for you, 4 years ago, you gave a TEDx talk. You're an entrepreneur, you're doing a lot of stuff with your time. How did you decide that it was worth your time and energy to give a TEDx talk among all the other stuff you were doing?
Yep. So every speech has the same criteria for me. And so one is to understand what it's going to entail: travel, time, and then who am I speaking with or for or through. And so I think a lot of speakers don't put a framework around the value or investment that it takes to speak, even if you're getting paid, where as you know, today I make over 6 figures speaking in one individual opportunity. Not every opportunity, by the way. I still speak for free because I have a framework that's based upon what is it that they actually want me to do: time, value, emotion, why is what am I going to invest in this speech? And then 2, what is the perceived value on both sides, and what's the bottom line? And as a business person, an entrepreneur, if you don't understand the investment in speaking and you don't look at the return on investment and align it with your timing and risk tolerance, and you're always working from a place of confusion, not clarity, balance, and focus. And so for me, when I did my TEDx talk 4 years ago, which was the second one that I had done, I looked to see what it was going to entail. And because I had done before and I knew that I could efficiently and effectively create some powerful post-production content, knowing that TEDx talks don't get limitless types of audiences with 12,000 people in the Maverick Center, I evaluated, just like any other investment that I make, the opportunity and what investment I was going to put forth and what that return on investment would be. And that return on investment is not just the impact that I'm going to have. It may be ticket sales. It may be post-production content. It may be the audience is aligned with being in my Free Friday trainings or my group coach or my one-on-one or my advisory. So I'm putting together a business case, believe it or not, for everything that is involved in every single speech. And I speak on 200 stages. I have 200 stages this year scheduled already. And so each one of those had a business case behind it.
So how do you do that 200 stages a year, and how do you not burn out? Like what do you do to keep finding and seeing the tangible ROI on continuing doing that?
That's a great question. So a lot of people, including Ed, right? I love Ed, and I are close friends, and I always try to either put myself before Ed or after Ed when I'm talking, just so I can be around Ed. And he says the same thing because he doesn't do nearly as many speeches as I do. So for me, number one, energy wise, I believe that we all have the same amount of energy. My focus, my perspective is, what am I doing to interfere with that energy? So you're a lot younger than me, probably in better shape. You can run faster and lift more weights, physically do more than I do, but I have more energy than you because I have focused at least the last 17 years on minimizing the amount of energy I waste. And so within the context of that, I am overlapping. So let's just take this week. I'm at SoFi Stadium tomorrow. My office, my training center, my studio is at SoFi. I have a speaking engagement for the Book As You Sell group in SoFi, but I'm using my own office to speak. And I'm, prepared and invested in a place that is its own state, the biggest and greatest stadium ever built, $5.5 billion. Then on Monday, I'm going to New York to speak. And so I will leave early Monday morning, not on Mother's Day, not screw up my Mother's Day weekend. I also will take my daughter and my wife with me, and meet my other daughter, and they will have a 2-day vacation in New York while I do 2 different speeches, a meetup, and another event. Then I'll fly to Atlanta early in the morning. So I'll go with my wife to the airport. She'll fly back to California, and I'm speaking with Tim Story at an event, doing a VIP dinner. Then I leave early in the morning to speak at the Rick Macy Tennis Academy in Boca the next day, and then another VIP dinner. Then I go down to Aspire with Goggins and Gary V and Tim Story again, and A-Rod, biggest business. So I'm booked for the next 7 Aspire events. But once again, I'm doing Aspire. Friday night, I do a VIP dinner, and I'm taking the last flight out. I'll be home on Friday night and spending the weekend with my family at home the next weekend to start moving into, again, Newport Beach, Orange County, San Diego, LA, and Phoenix. And yet I'm still carrying my family life with me. So if you diminish the amount of energy you waste by understanding travel and time, you can get a lot of stages done. I'll do more next week than a lot of professional speakers will do in 3 months.
And for speakers, kind of like I'm actually having, I think he's your mentee, Jeff Fenster, on the 23rd here. I got to meet him at the event as well in the VIP lunch. And so for people that are kind of in his situation, he's got a big business he's got to run. What guidance do you give to entrepreneurs that are in his position to handle speaking at the same time? When does it make sense and not make sense?
Yeah, so for Jeff, right, he's where I used to be when I ran the most notable sports agency in the world. I had a big business to run. Speaking wasn't, my primary thing, just like Jeff. But what I did was overlapped what I was doing by having either an intern or an employee of mine calling into the cities where I was going to be, coordinating either business meetings around where people wanted me to speak, or more often speaking around where business people wanted me to be. And because Jeff and I both use a bug light approach where he has Drew Brees as one of his partners, he has me as one of his partners, Dan Fleischman is one of his partners, he's circling around Limitless. And look, he doesn't get paid to do any of those things, nor does he need to get paid. But he understands the most important thing that I teach, which I'd love to teach your community, which is called the stage theory. See, the advantage today compared to when I started speaking is that your speech means nothing. It's why the TEDx talk with 100 people in the audience means nothing at the time of the speech. But what really matters today is capturing that content, modifying that content, amplifying that content, and perpetuating that content. I have so much perpetual content, Ryan, that I have a full-time employee that goes to events, goes to trade shows, goes places, and he literally says, "Hey, Ryan, what do you do?" And you say, "Hey, I got a podcast. I do this, I do that." "Hey, would it help you if I introduce you to David Meltzer?" Majority of the people say, "Who the hell is David Meltzer?" But because I have so much perpetual content, he's able to say, "Hey, do you use LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok?" I have a huge, not only following, but a huge database, perpetual content, where now, better than my speech, I can get someone to join my community because they go, "Wow, I love this. This took me 2 minutes to learn about David Meltzer. I love this guy. I'm going to hire him to speak. I'm going to go to his next, I'm going to join his Free Friday trainings. I'm going to listen to his podcasts, his TV shows, his movies, whatever else I'm doing." And so now I have this almost artificial intelligence social silo that not only has community members, but it attracts community members. And so that's what I have Jeff in today, is utilizing the stage theory of capturing what he does, modifying it correctly, amplifying it through a huge network, and of course, creating a perpetual silo.
It's a really interesting way to quantify the ROI on the events. And for you, having been in speaking for how many years has it been now for you?
Well, since I wrote my book, I started speaking professionally in 2013, 11 years.
Okay. So having been in it for 11 years through, growing your business, through speaking, being your business, where do you see in the next 5, 10 years from the business lens, but also the speaking lens, the speaking industry going?
Yeah, well, the speaking lens is community focused. Unlike any time before, you can create your own community, your own social silo, no matter who you are. I mean, I used to represent the biggest names in sport. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that more people would be aware of who I am than Warren Moon, my business partner. But as Warren Moon gets older and less relevant and doesn't have a community that he's built, and me being younger and my brand is getting bigger, my relevance is getting bigger, and I focused in on community, more people know who I am than Warren Moon. And I never thought that'd be possible. That is possible for everyone. When I met Gary Vaynerchuk 7 Super Bowls ago, and I had a radio show that was syndicated, and I thought, wow, that was so cool. You could listen to me on the radio, the Sports Blender show all across the country. But I wasn't building a community, just listeners. And I didn't understand. Well, Gary, really re-engineered my vision and said, Dave, you should do a podcast, because podcast is a community. A radio show isn't a community. The radio station has a community, but the show does not really have a community. So I said, that's awesome. He said, well, what do you think? I said, I'd like to get 2 people in year 1. I'm willing to invest in a podcast if I can get 2 people that I know that will get me 2 people a year to subscribe to my podcast and review it. And 2 people will get 2 people. And he's like, really? I said, he goes, that's all you want? I said, no, of course I want more, but I've had millions of listeners. That hasn't done me any good. I want to have ambassadors, people that will get me 2 people, because in 20 years, and I was 50 years old when I'm 70, I will have one of the most popular podcasts, because if I just get new people every year that will get me 2 new subscribers, I'll have 2 million subscribers getting me 2 million subscribers in year 20. And I'm a long thinker. I believe in divine time, not man-made time. And I think the biggest advantage I have in content, which is my biggest challenge with young people, and when I say young, Fenster's 40, Danny Fleischman's 39, is trying to convince them even at that age something that I wasn't convinced of, which is, hey, let's get a 20-year plan together, building a community. Let's be the most popular people who your subject matter expertise.
So community is what you're saying. Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
And one thing I think that I've listened to some of Jeff's stuff. I'm going to see him speak at an event in Atlanta in about a week as well, that I think Jen is throwing. And
yeah, Jen got
one thing that, yeah, exactly. You mentioned you met Gary. You mentioned you're good buddies with Jeff, mentor of Jeff, as he said, and with Danny Fleischman as well. How have you gone about building these relationships, and which of these relationships have you really invested into that you see, wow, I met Gary, he taught me this, and obviously I think that's a great example. You see almost unlimited ROI on that, what he's taught you. How did you go about consciously building and being intentional with the relationships you're investing your time and energy into? The same way you look at a stage's ROI, how do you kind of look at a relationship's ROI? It feels weird to say, but I think you kind of understand what I mean.
I do. I actually define it as relationship capital, and
Perfect.
help Jeff with his. Yeah. So he actually, Jeff wrote his first book about the concept that I taught him in relationship capital. I have an icon that has a person reaching up ahead of him and reaching down below him. And I call it the point guard 6-man strategy. So everybody knows that you're the aggregate of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I take that to the next level, which is pick and choose by subject matter, topic, or expertise, whether you want to be a point guard or a 6-man. So in my family, I want to be a point guard. But when it came to social media, I wanted to be the 6-man. So I got the biggest names, Tom Bilyeu, Ed Milet, Gary Vaynerchuk, all these people, and asked them for help. I wanted to be the 6-man on their team in social media. But when it comes to structuring a business, I'm the point guard. People like Jeff and Dan, chairman of Gulf Oil, they asked me to be their advisor. And so this mentee mentorship relationship capital is, to me, a cornerstone of what you need to do, because the fastest way to get to where you want to be is either find someone in a situation that you want to be in and ask them help, like I did to Gary Vaynerchuk, or find someone that you can help get to where they want to be, which, by the way, is how I met Gary Vaynerchuk, because he was trying to start a sports agency and they asked me for help about how to build a sports agency. And I was smart enough to say, hey, I will help you with what I know. I'll be your point guard on the sports agent side. You be my point guard on the social media side. Whether it was Tim's story, whether it was, of course, Ed or Tom, or the list goes on and on. Rob Deerdeck's another guy that we co-mentor each other with what we're good at. So Rob taught me how to do TV shows, because nobody scales TV shows like ridiculousness. I mean, it's on all day long, every single day. He does hundreds of episodes. I wanted to learn how to do that. And so that built my Apple TV streaming David Meltzer TV channels that have tons of TV shows, because I can produce them both digitally and on TV. So it's the cornerstone of what I do. And it's also a rule of mine to know your who. Who can you help get to where they want to be, and who can help you? Fastest way to get to where you want to be is to ask someone who sits in a situation like a Gary Vaynerchuk to give you directions on how to get to where they are.
And I think a lot of people know that, but I think you explained it in a really accurate way. A question I would have for you is, especially after being at the Limitless Arena event, how did you go about getting in these same circles as Gary? I think you said it was a Super Bowl. Maybe are there masterminds you were part of that? I know Dan Fleischman's got the $100 million mastermind or 100 million mastermind. How do you kind of assess which ones make sense for you to join to kind of be a lead gen of relationship building?
Yeah, once again, that's where we started the conversation, whether it be a stage or a mastermind or a group. I'm an instructor, a founding instructor of $100 million Mastermind. They're incorporated with Aspire as well in my VIP dinner. Cool. So we'll see them down in Miami. And Danny originally started with Joel Marion to understand how often I want to participate in that. Once again, understanding how much time, emotion, and value it's going to take, creating a perceived value and a bottom line, knowing my timing and risk tolerance, and aligning the opportunity with my timing and risk tolerance, understanding the perceived value and bottom line of the opportunity determines whether or not I'm going to personally participate, how I can be of assistance and help to, for example, Jen Gottlieb, who also, I've done some mentoring with, but may not have the time to go to the event in Atlanta, but will help in the respect of amplifying that to bring her on to, my IG Live, one of my shows, so that I can help facilitate elevating the awareness to people like you that have a different timing and risk tolerance and a different participation, where also I can recommend people like Jeff and Dan who get involved in Jen's masterminds and also her own membership group in order to facilitate value for those people that are aligned with that perceived value. And also the timing and risk tolerance of your time to go to Atlanta. And depending on who's going to be there, what can you find to be the point guard on some teams and the sixth man on others?
Beauty. Well, I'm going to be respectful of your time. I know you blocked out 20 minutes on the dot. I'm going to respect that there, and we can wrap it up here, David. Thank you for taking the time to do this, and I'll send you all this content so you and Raluca can use it however you guys see fit.
Well, I do have 50 seconds. So I want to offer your entire community. I'd love to send them my book. I'll sign it. I will send it to them. I'll pay for shipping. I'll pay for the book. Don't worry. If you want an ebook, audiobook, those are available. But if you email me, it's pinned right there, david@dmeltzer.com. Anyone in your community, I'd love to share my book. I'm on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, how to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And I'm super excited that you're in Jeff Fenster and Dan Fleischman and Ryan. Anyone else you want to get on your show, I'll be happy to help you. And anyone needs help, please email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I appreciate the opportunity to share with your community, and I look forward to seeing you in person.
Fantastic. Thanks, David. Cheers, man.
Thank you, brother.